going on there?
That's nice.
It's like a bhakti chocolate.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I was just seeing if I can.
Yeah, hey, let's talk about it later on.
We also have class in the evening.
Yeah,
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Johnny Taco is here. He'd be advertising his prayer.
Oh yeah, this is like
It's also there's 3 programs going on.
Got a lot. It's like it's kind of infomercial time.
Well, a lot of people don't know about the class. It's not promoted so much.
Yeah, no, I'm actually glad to hear about it. I didn't know about it.
You see?
Yeah, it's like the
Monday,
best.
Tuesday, Wednesday?
Every Tuesday, Wednesday?
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Monday, Tuesday.
And it's at 8:15. We have a nice kirtan. Last kirtan for 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And we're solid.
28.
What's not the last?
Class starts at 7.
7:15.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I'm
Yeah.
inviting all the new people that we get books to.
Oh, really?
A lot of new people, yeah. They're like, oh, yeah, I want to learn more about Bhagavad Gita. I've heard it. It's like, well, we have classes.
Yeah, that'd be good. We could maybe make a little card.
That's what I was just thinking.
Let's make a card.
That would be a really good idea.
I'll talk to, what's his name? Jared.
He does graphic design.
He's a professional designer.
Oh, really?
Top plate.
Yeah. Wow. That's perfect.
And mostly that way he can do it. Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Jaya Radha Kunjabi Hari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Vajajana Randana. Yashodanandana Vajajana Randana. Damuna Tira Vacha. Damuna Tira Vacha. Damuna Tira Vacha. Damuna Tira Vacha. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Jaya Radha Kunjabi Hari. Jai Mr. Paramahansa Pradikacharya Stotar the Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Mr. Paramahansa Pradikacharya Stotar the Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Kantaraj srimadbhagavatam ki jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Narayana Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriye. For reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashta Prayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 On this third day of May 2017 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Canto 3, the status quo, chapter 22, the marriage of Kardama Muni and Devahuti. Text number 28. Tamayantamabhipretya Brahmavartat Prajapatim Gita Samstuti Vaiditra. Try it again. Gita Samstuti Vaiditrai. Pratyudhiyu Praharshitaha. Tamayantamabhipretya Brahmavartat Prajapatim Gita Samstuti Vaditrai Pratyudhiyu Praharshitaha Tamayantamabhipretya Brahmavartat Prajapatim Gita Samstuti Vaditrai Pratyudhiyu Praharshitaha
Tam ayantam abhipretya Brahmavartat prajapatim Gita samstuti vaditrai Pratyudhiyu praharshita
Tamayantamabhipretya Brahmavartat prajapatim Gita Samstuti Vaditrai Pratyudhiyu Praharshita
Tamayantamabhipretya
Brahmavartat prajapatim
Gita Samstuti Vaiditrai
Gita Samstuti Vaditrai Pratyudhiyu Praharshitaha
Tamayantamabhipretya Brahmavartat prajapatim Gita Samstuti Vaditrai Pratyudhiyu Praharshitaha
Tam, him. Ayantam, who was arriving. Abhipretya, knowing of. Brahmavartat, from Brahmavarta. Prajaha, his subjects. Patim, their Lord. Gita, Samstuti, Vaditrai, with songs, praise, and instrumental music. Pratyudhiyu came forward to greet. Praharshitaha, overjoyed. Translation. Overjoyed to know of his arrival, his subjects came forth from Brahmavarta to greet their returning Lord with songs, prayers, and musical instruments. So this is again Maitreya speaking to Vidura, describing the scene. Purport. It is the custom of the citizens of a kingdom's capital to receive the king when he returns from a tour. There is a similar description when Krishna returned to Dwarka after the Battle of Kurukshetra. At that time, he was received by all classes of citizens at the gate of the city. Formerly, capital cities were surrounded by walls, and there were different gates for regular entrance. Even in Delhi today, there are old gates, and some other old cities have such gates where citizens would gather to receive the king. Here also the citizens of Barhishmati, the capital of Brahmavarta, the kingdom of Swayambhuva, came nicely dressed to receive the emperor with decorations and musical instruments. Om Jnana Tamarandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master Srila Prabhu opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. Can you turn this up just a mic? My voice is low.
No, should I do that, sir? Yeah, I did.
Yeah, slightly. So we'll probably read the next verse also, just a few comments on this. So here is an example that we see not only with, as Prabhupada mentions, with Krishna coming back to Dwarka, but there's a beautiful description of King Prithu when he enters a city. Some of you who read the fourth canto may remember that. Everybody comes out and they're praising. They're what they call professional praisers. You know, I mean, they're just leading the praise. The people in general are also overjoyed. Here it says praharshita, not just harshita, but praharshita. It means very, very joyful. And why is that? Because the people love the leader. It's a different dynamic completely from what we have today, where definitely these half the people are totally opposed to the leader, and the other half are just waiting to see what he can do for them. You know? And the whole thing has become completely corrupted in the Kali Yuga. And it's described in the 12th canto, how the leaders will become just like devouring the populace. They just become like Rakshasas. And how will they devour? By excessive taxes, you know, or other ways of, you know, drafting them into the army and sending them off to wars, you know, while they themselves sit in their palace or their kingdom or their capital, whatever it is. And how did this corruption take place? It begins with the corruption of the Brahminical class. The whole Varnashram system is created by Krishna. Chatu Varnya Maya system Guna Karma Vibhaga Tasyakartam Vidyakartam. That I created this Chatu Varnya Varnashram system, although I'm the non-doer, I'm unattached to it, like that he says. So, in other words, there's a divine plan for the organization of society. And that has to do with these different varnas, first of all. The Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and the Shudras. And there's also the outcasts. The Shudras also have rules and regulations. You read the 7th canto. So the head of society is compared like a body. You've got the Brahmins as the head, the Kshatriyas as the arms for protection. The Vaishyas are actually called the thighs, but the waist, this part, belly, in other words, to produce goods for sustenance. And the Shudras are like servants, manual laborers, basically, most of the people. But the key is the Brahminical class, because they guide society. Now, it's not just that the Brahminical class has to be pure and learned and renounced. They can't be in it for the money. They're in it for the very service of guiding society. And that's why the wealth of the Brahmins, as we've heard, is renunciation. And not just renunciation, but detachment. It's not that they're renounced. See, there's a distinction here. And the distinction between Tyaga and Vairagya. Tyaga, which is spoken of extensively in the 18th chapter, has to do with literally giving things up. It's like we have our 4 regular principles. There's no way of dovetailing meat eating into Krishna kindness. It has to be given up. You know, illicit sex, gambling, intoxication. It's not part of the program. So that's Tyaga. But more important to us, and to the culture of spiritual life, is Vairagya, which literally means no attachment, no desire. And why is that so important? Because after all, that's what's going to bring you back, if you're going to come back, as we've been coming back from birth after birth, are all of those unfulfilled desires. Those material desire seeds you planted, and sometimes they're called like knots or ropes and on, that bind you to this world. So those have to be overcome, or more precisely sublimated, transferred to Krishna before we leave this body. So the ideal person in society is one who's a pure devotee who's completely detached from this material world. And even more importantly, he takes the trouble to try to teach the science of Krishna kindness to others. So pure Vaishnavism includes Brahminical culture. There's no question about it. So in a sane society, the Brahminical class is pure, they're learned, they're renounced, and they teach, they're the advisors to the kings. Because the kings are often conducted by this mode of passion. They're meant to be Raja Rishis, Rajarshis, in other words, learned also. But because they're Raja, the king, they sometimes get a little carried away with the passion. And so they need to defer to the Brahmins. Do this, don't do this, like that. So, you know where the beginning in the Kali Yuga, where that corruption began, you remember? Shringi. The son of Shamika Rishi, who cursed Maharaj Parikshit because he insulted his father. It was all arranged by Krishna. He had put this snake around his father who wouldn't greet him. He was in Samadhi, he didn't even know he was there, and Parikshit was thirsty and hungry and tired from going through the forest. And he came upon this hermitage, and there was Shamika Rishi, a great sage, meditating. And he didn't see the king, otherwise he would have offered him at least, the custom is at least a nice place to sit, sweet words and some water. Otherwise you can offer like Krishna offered Sudama, wonderful, food and greeting and, argya and everything else, There's a wonderful culture behind it. So, the king felt insulted, and uncharacteristically, he saw this carcass of a dead snake, he put it around the sage's throat, his neck, and then went back home. And even while he was going, he said, "Oh, what have I done? What have I done?" He was worried about it. Shringi heard about it. He's a 5-year-old boy. He had the tejas. He was trained, how to chant mantras, but he didn't have the real discrimination, that comes with it. So he immediately became furious, because after all, the Kshatriyas are meant to defer to the Brahmins. Here the Kshatriyas insulting the Brahmins, so he felt enraged, takes his thread, he had one, and cursed Parikshit to die within 7 days by this takshaka, snake bird. And these curses are very powerful. Now, Parikshit could have counteracted the curse, it's described there, but he accepted it as the will of Krishna. Just like we find Ambarish, he was another great king who was cursed, if you will, by Durvasa. He really wasn't cursed, but he created a Kritya, female fiery demoness, to go and consume Ambarish. So what did he do? He just stood there. He didn't do anything. Kept praying to Krishna. If this isn't the will, this is how I'm supposed to die, let it be. Let me remember Krishna. That's advancement. To be completely free of fear in the face of immediate danger. Super advanced. So anyway, you know the story. He was saved by the chakra. So Parikshit also was on that level. And he said he accepted it. Oh, this is the will of Krishna. And the story, he took off, he basically renounced the whole kingdom and the kingly dress and sat down on the bank of the Ganges, fast until death. And the rest is history, as we say. The Bhagavatam became manifest. So, but when the Brahminical class is totally corrupt, as they become in this age, the Prabhupada explains that they're always there, even if they're not called Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras. The qualities are there. There's an intelligent class, who can deny it? The Silicon Valley and the universities, they're there, right? There's a class of military and administrators, someone who has natural leadership skills, leader of men, charisma. There's certainly plenty of Vaishyas. There's no question of people making money left and right here and there, right? And there's no question of Shudras. And we have tons of people who are, out of the caste, and they're just demonic. And even then, the whole thing is mixed up. But the point is, there's a vestige of it in every. So, but what happens? What do the intelligent class do? They sell out. The dominant mood is make money in this society. What's in it for me? And that corrupts everything. The Vaishyas themselves are corrupted because they don't have any deference for the higher classes.
It's all how much money can I make? And so you get some people who make millions and billions, and they want to control with that. They're not supposed to be controlled. They're supposed to give charity to the higher classes. Yeah, they'll give charity as long as they get something back. They'll give charity to the politicians so that then they'll, lower their taxes and regulations. I mean, it's totally corrupt. But you can see how it's. So now here, let's back to the scene here with Swayambhuva Manu, the first Manu in the universe, and he's been leading. He wrote the Manu Samhita, is guiding the society, and the people feel protected and safe within the kingdom. That's the first duty of any leader or of any government, is to protect the people from the natural dacoits and foreign enemies and all these different things. But when the government itself is the enemy of the people, then what happens? Disaster. Then we have what we have today, misery. So here you see the evidence of this is the people loved the king. They felt so happy to see him. They were, Bahashita, overjoyed at his return. You could just try to imagine what a wonderful society that would be in. That would to live in society like that. So this is what we're witnessing here, and I'm going to read the next verse too, so we can kind of move a little faster. So this is actually 2 verses. I'll just give you the Sanskrit. Vaishmati nama puri sarva sampat samanvita nyapatan yatra romani yagyasyangam vidunvata kusha kashas ta evasan shasvat dadita varchasa vishayo yai padabhavya yagyam yagyam ijire. The city of Barhishmati, this is his capital city, rich in all kinds of wealth, was so called because Lord Vishnu's hair dropped there from his body when he manifested himself as Lord Boar, Ra. As he shook his body, his very hair fell and turned into blades of evergreen kusha grass and kasha grass, another kind of grass used for mats. That's in the translation. By means of which the sages worshipped Lord Vishnu after defeating the demons who had interfered with the performance of their sacrifices. Purport. Any place directly connected with the Supreme Lord is called a Pitastham. Barhishmati, the capital of Swayambhuva Manu, was exalted not because the city was very rich in wealth and opulence, but because the hairs of Lord Varaha had fallen at this very spot. These hairs of the Lord later grew as green grass, and the sages used to worship the Lord with that grass after the time when the Lord killed the demon Hiranyaksha. So that's Varaha who killed Hiranyaksha. Yagya means Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Bhagavad Gita, karma is described as yagyarta. Yagyarta karma means work done only for the satisfaction of Vishnu. Famous verse 3:9. If something is done for sense gratification or any other purpose, it will be binding upon the worker. If one wants to be freed from the reaction of his work, he must perform everything for the satisfaction of Vishnu, or Yagya. In the capital of Swayambhuva Manu, Barhishmati, these particular functions were being performed by the great sages and saintly persons. So this is a nice description of his city, which was sacred because it was a place where these hairs from Lord Bora had fallen when he was fighting with Hiranyaksha, and that made it sacred. Now this idea of Yagya being Vishnu, so in the 3rd chapter, we hear Yagyartar Kamano Nyatra Lokoyam Karma Bandhana. This is actually a really important verse for trying to impress people with the importance of Krishna consciousness. Because you start out by understanding your spirit, not matter. And because we're identifying with matter, namely the material body, therefore we're confronted with so many sufferings in this body, chief of which are birth, old age, disease, and death. So that's the first thing. That's it. You can understand that, But then the whole idea that there's life before birth. A lot of 95% of people that believe in life after death, they all think they're going to heaven. They're not, but they think they are. So they believe that, but very few believe in life before birth, and that's the key because that explains how you got to this situation. Otherwise, there's no explanation for it. Why some are born with a silver spoon in their mouth and others are born with some genetic disease, some poor kid, right? Why? God has no compassion on these poor kids. Why are they suffering so much? Right? Right? This is the problem of evil. This is theodicy. If the God is all powerful and all merciful, then why does he let the innocent suffer? Now, where's the logical fallacy in that statement? Can you tell? Where's the innocent?
No one's innocent.
No one is innocent. The fact that we're here means that we're rebels against God, the original sin, and everything that's come after that. We've gotten ourselves in the Kali Yuga. It's not a very good birth. So we have a whole background of selfish activities, sinful activities that have brought us to this point. So therefore, it's not a question of God punishing the innocent. It's a question of understanding the plan that God has for us out of his limitless compassion for how we can reform ourselves and get back to our original state, beyond the miseries of birth, old age, disease, and death. It's a whole different perspective. So the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is near the beginning, is describing, well, how you can work in this world. You have to do something. Krishna said you can't even support your body without working. So forget about not doing anything. Right? Everyone has to do something. Even if you're sitting quietly, the mind is going. That's still you acting. So how to act in this world so that you're not further bound. Your activities don't bind you. And your previous activities, which are karma, is being erased. That's the trick. Right? So that's called nice karma. It means activity without any result. Result meaning good or bad karma. So that's where this verse comes in. Activities in this world must be performed for the sake of jagya. And it's explained in the purport that jagya means sacrifice, and it also means Vishnu. The sacrifice is meant for Vishnu. Otherwise, you can perform sacrifice for Chandi, you can perform for Durga, and for Ganesh, and all these things. But there's always a motive there. The sacrifice for Vishnu should be performed without any other motive, other than to displease Vishnu. That's what pure bhakti is all about. And that activity, which is bhakti after all, will eradicate your previous karma, and all your present karma will be fried. And Krishna will start taking over. He will manage whatever result you're going to feel for the sake of giving up your attachment to this world. So, otherwise, as we see around us, your activity will bind you one way or another. Whether you're working in the mode of goodness or passion or ignorance, there'll be bondage. Now, you may be able to get a good birth in this world by acting, piously and sacrificing for others and helping the poor and all this. But you still have to come back. You still have to take a material body, and who knows what will happen in the next life. The influences on you when you grow up may be such that you turn into a little demon. And then, nunam pamatta kurute vikarma, vikarma. This is sinful, vicious activity, which really produces suffering, even to the point of losing the human body. So all of this is like basic ABC with Krishna consciousness. But it's very important to keep that in mind for ourselves as well, because our activities are meant to be, in a sense, all sacrifice for the sake of Krishna. Now, when we sacrifice for the sake of Krishna and we remember Krishna when we work, then it becomes bhakti. You see? Otherwise, it's pure. It's keeping you going in the right direction. But it's supposed to be, sacrifice is meant to mature into knowledge, and that knowledge includes remembrance of Krishna. So ideally, as you sacrifice, you're cleaning the floor, you're doing the pots, or you're cooking, or going on sankirtan, whatever you're doing, you're thinking of Krishna. You're remembering Krishna because we had this wonderful morning program, which is nothing but bhajan. Chanting the holy name, seeing the beautiful deity, hearing discourse about Krishna. This is where our remembrance is nourished, and we're supposed to carry it through. Because we're continuing to chant Hare Krishna, and our activities are related to serving Krishna, so they should remind us of Krishna. But when you can remember Krishna constantly, then bliss. That's the source of your happiness, real happiness, which is not dependent on some flickering sense gratification. If something is done for sense gratification or any other purpose, it will be binding upon the worker. This is the basic message of the third chapter. Now, what is it that prevents us, that keeps us coming back to this selfish work? as Arjuna asked, Atakena Payuktoyam Patam Charli Purusha, and it's Charla Vivarshanaya, Puladi even the Arjuna. Perfect. So what is it that impels one to act sinfully, even against one's own discrimination? Anichan, as if it were against one's desire. You know? So this is like we confront those two influences in our life. One is all of this wonderful philosophy and our devotional self that we're trying to develop, and the other is our old self, right? It says, well, let me enjoy. Enough with this Krishna, right? We may not vocalize it that way, but that's really what we're thinking. So each day we reenact the fall from the spiritual world. Turn our back on Krishna, do something we know is going to help us forget Krishna, and then try to enjoy. And then if we're not too far out, we pick ourselves up and come to the morning program again. So we have to pray, and we can adopt. This is what these books are so valuable in so many ways. And one is to give us statements and expressions that we can embrace and adopt. Just like this wonderful prayer I like to chant sometimes in front of our picture there of the Sringadev. We used to have a murti, a little Shila for many years. I don't know if you were here. Anyway, the Shila isn't with us anymore. But prayers to the Sringadev. Prabhupada says in the purport to this prayer, says anyone who wants to be free of material desires should offer prayers to Lord Nrsingadev as Prahlad did in this verse. So I read that when I was editing it. I immediately memorized the verse. It's not really a verse, but it's a very important statement. It's for all of us. Om Namo Bhagavate Narasimhaya Namaste Jastejase Aviravi Bhavavadranaka Vadrandangsha Karma Shayan Randaya Randaya Tamo Grasa Grasa Om Svaha Abhyam Abhyam Apani Bhurishta Om Ksham. Powerful prayer. A lot of devotees have memorized that, so they read the purport. So, what is he saying? And first he offers his obeisances. Om Namo Bhagavate Narasimhaya. I offer my obeisance unto Lord Nrsingadev, half man, half lion. Om Namo Narasimhaya, unto you. When you see the ayah, that's second person. That's even more immediate. I offer my obeisance unto you, O Lord Nrsingadev. Narasimhaya. Namaste Tejase. All obeisances unto you, O most powerful of the powerful. When you hear the repetition, it's high emotion. Namaste Tejase. Avadavir Bhava. Please be manifest. Please be manifest. Vajranaka Vajradangsha. And with your thunderbolt-like teeth and claws, rip apart all of my material desires in my heart. Karma Shayan. Karma Shayan is the aspiration for fruit of results and activity. Randaya Randaya. Rip apart, destroy. Randaya Tamo Grasa Grasa. Dissipate the darkness in my heart. Om Svaha, offer oblations unto you. Abhyam Abhyam Apani Bhurishta. Please be manifest in my heart and give me fearlessness in this fearful world. Bhurishta, and then Om Ksham. Each of the deities has his or her own seed syllable. I think I can reveal these. Like for Krishna, clean. That's it. It's clean. Rather shreem, and the others have others I may have forgotten. But for Lord Nrsingadev, it's Kshram. And you can hear him ripping apart. It's the sound of ripping apart that chest of Hiranyakashipu. The ideal demon. What does it mean? The personification of lust and greed after wealth. Hiranya, that's gold. And Kashipu, the soft bedding. And as Prabhupada says at one tape, and the bed companion. Money and sex. This is the aspirations of the demons. So Krishna ripped them apart. So this prayer is a prayer that, and it's almost an expansion of a prayer Prahlad gave in the 7th canto. After Nrsingadev had killed Hiranyakashipu and all of the, luminaries of the universe, and Brahma and Indra and the Vidyadharas and Lakshmi even, and so they're trying to pacify him with prayers from quite a distance actually, because he's still furious. His eyes are blazing, his ears are steaming, and he's so angry because Prahlad had been tormented. Even after killing Hiranyakashipu and all the other demons who came at them. Blood everywhere. It's a frightening scene for the the demigods. So they're offering these prayers, but they couldn't pacify Nisringadeva. He's still angry. So they say, Prahlad, you go forward, he likes you. Prahlad comes right up. In fact, one of his first prayers says, I'm not afraid of you with your big, ears and hitting the clouds and your fire. He describes it in teaching. It doesn't frighten him. I'm afraid of the material energy. He's taking the role of the conditioned soul. So after all of the prayers, they're very important to know. 9th chapter, 7th canto, we're studying. Then what happens? Nisringadeva offers him a benediction. Anything you want. Anything. A planet, a universe, whatever. So Prahlad is upset. He says, why are you tempting me, my Lord? I'm not some businessman doing business with you. I'm perfectly satisfied just serving you. But then he saw that they wanted to give him something. So sometimes it's a service to someone to let them give you something. Because they want to do it, and so then you give something back. This is devotees. So he says, okay, Yadi dasasi me kaman varan swang vadadarshapa kamanam ridyasam naroham vavadastu manevaram. If you want to give me some desirable benediction, O best of the benedictors, vadadarshapa means the best of them, then please in my heart let material desires never take root. Asam roha means that they never actually take root in my heart. In other words, let me be free of material desires. And we can pray like that. So you can see how this long prayer is just an extension of that other prayer. This is Prahlad's. What a beautiful prayer. We can pray like that. So the Bhagavatam gives us so much facility because we have to fill our head with something. And there's nothing better to fill it with than Bhagavad philosophy and Bhagavad Gita. And that by that association and by taking the trouble, memorize a few verses, it's not that hard. And chant them in front of the Lord. I remember I saw Yadavar many years ago. It calls to mind. He memorized some Gita verses and he would chant them in front of Krishna. And there's Krishna smiling at you, and you're chanting his very words. So you're listening to the words, but you're seeing him speaking it. This is the facility we have. So. This is how we can become free of this latent fruit of activity and fruit of desire in our hearts. And we can, this is maybe I'm speculating here, forgive me, but as we make this prayer, Om Namo Bhagavate Narasimhaya, we can visualize the Nisringadeva, getting into our heart, destroying all of those desires that we know are there, making dust. Or as Krishna says as Brahma says in the Bhagavatam, Karmani nidhati kinchu the bhakti bhaja, that for the devotee who's worshiping Govinda, he burns to ashes the seeds, because they're like seeds of desire and karmic reaction. They're burned, they cannot fructify for the ardent worshipper of Krishna. Otherwise, from Indra down to the Indragopa germ, everyone is bound up by his karma, living it out, oblivious to all of this science. So we have a great opportunity to get rid of our material desires, transmute them, sublimate them into desires to serve Krishna, and become truly happy in this world. Which is really difficult. It's more difficult now, in this modern age. Even people who thought they had it made are worrying a lot that it's all going to be destroyed by this crazy government that we have. But devotees don't worry. They're still going on to business chanting on Krishna. Why is that? Because we're not part of the world anymore as it is. You have a different world. And you have hopes and confidence that that even if everything, atomizes, we're not going to be dead. We're going to die. Everybody dies. Nobody dies. Wake up, and open your eyes. You're not dead body or good spirit, soul. Chant the holy name and attain life's soul. Right, Krishna. Any questions, comments? Yes, ma'am.
Brahmavartat Prajapati.
Yeah.
So, are we talking? Is this talking about Brahmavartat or like a Brahmavarsha, a location where the Prajapati resides? What is this Brahmavartat? Is that?
It looks like Brahmavarta is another name for Vahishmati, as far as I can tell.
Nothing to do with.
Because it says they came forth from here also this isn't Mahishmati. Oh, here it is. Brahmavarta is a province, is an area.
Right.
The end of the
That's what I thought.
yeah, it's a province. And you want to know why it's called Brahmavarta?
Yeah, just curious. Yeah, that's part of it. I didn't have a chance to finish my point yet.
Yeah, I'm not up on that, you know.
Yeah. Well, then one other, okay, the point I was trying to make, or get to is, we have north of ourselves, living in Bharatvarsha, the heavenly realm, Mount Meru. So Mount Meru goes up 80,000 miles.
Right.
The top of Mount Meru is Brahmapuri.
Yeah.
And then sometimes we read about the 14 planetary systems, the upper planetary system, that there is a Brahmaloka.
Right.
Sometimes there's a dispute that there's a Brahmaloka and a Brahmapuri. Some people say no, there's just a Brahmapuri. Do you have any comments on that?
Nope. When I get to the
Yes.
I'm telling you.
You know what I'm talking about.
When you're in the fifth canto,
Exactly.
well, I don't know. You know, I don't see Mount Meru.
Exactly.
I don't see the ocean of liquor.
Right.
All of this is like
Bhumandala.
Yeah.
I was there in India when the whole thing was going down, you know. So
Yeah. And
you were in Los Angeles probably.
I was in LA. I mean, they were trying to figure it out. You know, they were making the diagrams. It was a big deal to try to get that. You can imagine under the pressure of 2 months, got to get this. I was part of the fifth canto was part of the marathon.
I remember when people were panicking in Vrindavan in Bombay, Bhakti Prem and Yashodananda, and they were all, I remember. That was all, go ahead.
I'm fortunate, although I really liked math when I was a kid.
Yes.
I don't worry about numbers in the Bhagavatam so much. I mean, because I'm supposed to edit these things, you know, and sometimes I think, well, wait a minute, is that right? We had I can tell you privately, but there are some numbers that we've adjusted, you know, to bring them in, because other things that Prabhu said, you know, is it 4,320,000,000, or is it just 4,300,000,000? You know, well, when you get to 4 billion, 20 million is maybe like a rounding error, but you wanted to, you know, comport with all the other
The
places.
diameter of the universe, 4 billion, or jump, or
Yeah,
Bhumandala.
or that's
The diameter
I think
of
his
Bhumandala,
day,
yeah.
his length of his day. You know, I think this is
Okay.
So it's 4 billion miles is nothing. I mean, the scientists are talking about 4 billion light years for some of these galaxies that they think are out there. You know, so you can kind of go a little crazy trying to figure out, well, how does it work? You know, and unfortunately I've never gone there too much, but we can. And that way I keep my sanity. The thing is, there's one of the things that seems to be happening is there's different levels of existence that we can't perceive, and that may be also, you know, this Mount Meru. Well, it's not that it's a foggy day and we can't see it. It's not, and it's 80,000 miles. That's kind of really big. You know, the whole Earth is supposed to be only 8,000 miles wide. I mean, diameter about 25,000 miles around. So the numbers just don't add up. Now we can say, well, yeah, you know, the Earth is actually flat, but I'm not ready to go there. You know, the Bhumandala is just like a disc, right? And that's where we are.
Right, yeah,
You know?
right.
So where's this globe thing happening? You know? But then you say, well, Prabhupada said, you know, I mean, there's all of these globes, you know, floating in the air. It's
Right, the globe's floating in the air, but we don't necessarily have to be a globe. We can see a globe, it doesn't mean that we're a globe.
yeah.
One other question on a totally different subject, which is important from a previous purport.
Okay.
We talked about how Kapila was a ray of Vishnu. And then in the purport, Prabhupada describes how Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati is also a ray of Vishnu.
Yeah.
So what is the difference between Kapila as a ray of Vishnu and the Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati as a ray of Vishnu?
The thing is that Lord Kapila Dev is known as the plenary expansion of Krishna, the Vishnu Tapa. And that's why in his teachings, he talks about Mam all the time. You know, I know one of them, bhakti to me, right at the beginning of